Right, thank you for joining me, Dave, for this auspicious tasting of the Westvleteren 12, the famous beer, possibly most famous beer in the world, cause of much debate, But one thing you can say is that it's certainly one of the most expensive beers in the world.
Right.
It's not a cheap drop by any means. In fact, mil for mil, this is probably significantly more expensive than many of the Scotch whiskies we've tried on this channel. So here you go.
When you say 12, is it 2012 brewing or is it...
No, it is Westvleteren 12.
Okay.
It is their,
That's
what
they call it.
It is a quadrupel.
Right.
Is what it is. So here we are, the Deus Ex Cerveza. Here's an expensive noise coming at you.
10.2% ABV, I see from the label. Good, strong Belgian quad.
So because there will be very heavy sediment on the bottom of this, and we do not want it in our glass, I'm going to decant into this gravy jug first, and I'm really hoping it doesn't fizz on me, because anyone who has any currency with Belgian beers knows they are absolute rotters when it comes to fizzing, and it is. And it is. So we're going to then segue to pouring straight into the glass.
Yeah, let that jug settle for a time.
Sum of all my fears here.
Yeah.
Still getting a pretty good clear pour off this one. And the moment I see sediment, I'm going to stop this, because I do not want the vitamins and minerals coming into
That would
this
then
one.
decant from your glass into mine to get to...
Oh no, you can go from the jug.
Cool,
There we
that
go.
work? Yeah.
So there you go. Difficult already.
Speaking of already, I'm already in a phenomenal Belgian beer malty nose from this.
Yeah. There's a lot of discussion about this beer as to what makes it so good. I can tell you one thing, it's not the hops, because there's bugger all in there. What it's going to be is the sort of the monk magic they managed with the malts in there. It's going to be
literally
so special.
Centuries upon centuries of tradition of brewing beer as part of the monastic, tradition of charity, of providing food and drink for pilgrims, including beer and wine.
So I'll give you a wee look at the colour there. That's that's gone beyond copper. That's getting into sort of a mahogany there. It's a very, very dark but still translucent beer. I mean, this isn't a stout by any means. How's that one doing for you?
There
Oh,
we
looks
are.
pretty good. So
That is a gorgeous colour. It is a very rich, dark, reddy brown.
big clingy head on that, and the nose.
It smells amazing.
There is.
It is a celebration of malt. Any wheat?
I don't believe there's any wheat.
Belgium is one of the powerhouses of wheat beer, which I personally am very fond of, but possibly none here.
There is a diverse array of things going on in that nose, and that includes, which I'm a bit flabbergasted with, it includes hard cheese.
Interesting.
There's a little bit of...
I see what you mean, like crumbly, almost crystalline cheddar.
it's not the first thing that comes out, but it's the first thing that made me take a step back.
Yeah, I'm getting a hint of those banana esters like you get from Belgian yeasts, often found in Belgian-style wheat beer.
It's not even a roller coaster of malt flavours. It's like the National Art Gallery of malt flavours. There is so much here. You could sit here and sort of belt out nosing notes for a very long time, and I suppose that's sort of the point. It's a beer that's regarded as highly as it is because of its complexity, not necessarily its force of flavour, but its diversity, its breadth rather than its depth. And I would say both of us are going in pretty blind here. I have tried this in the past, but not formally like we're tasting it today. So this is my first brush with it professionally, I
I've
suppose.
sampled the offerings from a handful of other Trappist monasteries, but nothing of this exclusivity and renown.
So tasting notes, there's, starting from the absolute simplest, and I guess going uphill from there, it tastes of malt, a taste of caramelised sugar, so sort of brown sugar, demerara sugar. And then it starts getting weirdly savoury. There's some dry Hessian sac in there, which will crop up in a lot of our malt whiskies. The older ones will have sort of a Hessian or jute sac flavour to them, and that's in the nose as well. And then right up on the top, there is that slightly savoury, very, very hard cheese kind of aroma there. It's very, very dry for what's normally a very sweet style of beer. Quads are normally super duper sweet, sweetest of the Belgian styles, and loaded up with candy sugar and all sorts of stuff to really accentuate that character. This one there's a bit of like old dry attic to it almost.
That is getting more savoury, more fusty as it breathes.
It's a lot more, I guess, animal than I was expecting. It's weird. Yeah, interesting. Way more, way funkier and way drier than I was expecting going in. I was expecting lots of different malt notes. I was not expecting lots of different savoury notes along with it.
Is it barrel aged before it's bottled?
No, I don't believe so.
And how old is this particular bottle here?
This one, I'm not sure about the particular lineage of this one. They are batched, and I could figure it out, but I thought I'd leave that as the part of the mystery. For all I know, this bottle's completely bad, but I don't think so. They are, if nothing else, built to last. Even if it's had to come almost halfway around the world to get to me.
There's definitely been no air seepage based on the sheer amount of foam.
No, indeed. All right, so the taste.
It's like a very rich barley wine, but somehow silkier and lighter.
It is remarkably light. It's...
Yeah.
What is even going on there? It's remarkably light bodied. It's almost slightly playful in its character there. Again, the first thing is a maltiness, but that rapidly sort of evolves into all sorts of other odd flavours.
There are all sorts of sweet confections. There's a finish of... It's a faint hint of Marmite.
Yeah.
There's quite yeasty, quite a little bit salty.
A lot of these savoury flavours will be yeast driven.
Yeah.
That's where they come from. And it will be a very particular strain of yeast that we're dealing with here. But that is so strange. I was expecting this to be good. I was not expecting it to be strange. Which, if anything, is maybe more entertaining, because I can drink good beer whenever I want. I know what it is. But yeah, a truly esoteric beer. This one... This one probably takes it.
It is concealing that 10% strength. It is well hidden. It has, as I say, like the flavour is evocative of a barley wine, but it has a lightness of body and
it's farmyard. Again, it's reminding me of a sort of French cheese, like an unpasteurised camembert almost. There's really weird. I don't know quite how they got some of these flavours out of here.
I could really go for a cheese board of cheese and pickles and
that's arguably what you would do if you were drinking one of these. For the purpose of drinking and not really conducting a
treat it like a barley wine. Yeah.
And it would go tremendously with some equally complex cheese. Mild cheese though, nothing massively strong, not blue cheese, which would some people would reach for because that would be too strong. That'd be fine for another quad. This one is, it's really quite standoffish almost. And as the finish goes on, it dries up and up and up and becomes more and more lifted, more and more sort of earthy, farmyard, animal, crazy. And it's evolving in the glass as well. Those caramel sugars are taking more of a centre note on there now, and the yeast flavours, which makes sense because the esters that the yeast produce are very, very volatile. They won't last more than a few hours, maybe even a few minutes, depending on the type they are. Once they're exposed to oxygen, they will oxidize out and turn into something completely different. But yeah, that is changing minute to minute, which makes it a real bugger to actually give you tasting notes on in a logical, linear way.
Yeah.
But I'm sure someone has done a more exhaustive list of them online. But you'd almost have to do tasting notes at 5 minutes, tasting notes at half an hour. Deeply, deeply complex. And thankfully, it's not a beer that I want to drink huge quantities of. One sip will set you up. It'll give you heaps to think about for quite some time. I would not want to chug this beer. I mean, we're drinking it at room temperature, which is, I think, ideal for this one. Unless your room temperature is super duper hot, then I would say probably chill it a wee bit, but we're probably at about 16 degrees centigrade here, and I'd say that's ideal for this one. Yeah, what a weird thing. So much weirder than I was expecting. I was expecting maybe a perfect quadrupel, but this is, one, not a perfect quadrupel. For a quadrupel, I'd deduct points. It's too weird. It's not sweet enough. It's got too much weird farmy stuff going on. But for a beer experience, boy.
I was expecting something which would have the Belgian beer hallmarks, but would be also a bit of a radical departure in some respects. So I think that's delivered what I was hoping for. I've been surprised in all the right ways, while still having some familiar mainstays to some beacons to set my bearings on.
Yeah. So I think the most useful thing I can say about Westvleteren 12 now is whether it's the best beer in the world, probably that's a matter for debate. It's certainly probably the most complex beer that I've ever tasted. I think I can say that with reasonable confidence there. It's not a beer that I think everybody's going to enjoy.
Oh, no.
I think this is a beer for, it's a beer for us, malt whiskey drinkers, people that are used to diving in deep and really steeping ourselves in a lot of very esoteric flavours.
Unpacking the chest of treasures.
Even if you really loved a quad, you'd have to love a super diverse quad to be fully on board with this one. Otherwise, I think there's a lot of people that just wouldn't like this. They'd be like, why is there cheese in my beer? Like, why is there farm animals in my glass? This is not what I wanted. I wanted a nice, rich Belgian quad, of which there is, thankfully, way more affordable options out there for you. This is a beer for someone that wants to taste it with their brain. This is probably the best and worst thing I can say about this one. This is a cerebral as hell beer.
It is easy to see why it has its reputation as a cornerstone of beer connoisseurship. What
I will have to do, sadly, is try another bottle to see if there's any variation, because this is so strange. I don't know if I can put any of this down to this bottle was weird, or it's intrinsically weird, and that batches change. I will need to pour me a quality control check on another one of these and provide a quick update sometime in the future.
Maybe that's part
just
of the
to cover
appeal.
my base.
There are some stark differences year to year, season to season, based on just the factors in the local region. Weather, soil, anything else that goes into the grain.
Yeah, startling, beguiling.
Oh yeah.
And deeply, deeply exotic as well. Belgian I've always described as beer through the lens of wine, being basically a bunch of exiled French people, the Flemish, suddenly in a place they can't grow grapes. What are you going to do? Make beer wine, and so Belgian beer was born. But man, yeah. Well, we could go way longer than this, but needless to say, this is not what I was expecting, but tremendously pleased with what I got. Going in completely blind. If I'd done super extensive research into what it was going to taste like, I think that would have stolen some of the fun out of it. But yeah, that animal cheese thing, was not expecting it, and I like it. I like it. Food for thought, I think.
It has, for me, a lot of the best properties of a farmhouse beer, a saison, and of a barley wine, and of your classic Belgian.
Yeah. Alrighty. Oh well, thank you for joining me for this one, Dave. This is definitely a beer to be enjoyed and discussed in company. I think would be a sad thing to drink on one's own. So there we go. Invaluable assistance.
A little goes a very long way too.
It really does. Alrighty, oh well, we will continue to nurse these, and we will let you go. So thank you for joining us on this very special episode of the Single Malt Review. These ones won't be coming around too often, but if you've got any other
singular malt,
if you've got any other beer sort of recommendos for us of world famous beers, I will. I have a lot to do with beer. I love beer, and I will do my very best. Well. In a very small part of the world, but yes. So a lot of beer sort of crosses my desk, and any world-renowned ones, I will be really hot to get out and try. So please let me know what's unmissable out there, and I will probably not be able to get it because we're in New Zealand, but I'll do my damn best. Anyway, Slanjo, that has been Westvleteren 12. Imagine that, the big time.